This is part 39 of my series on my N-gauge model railway project. Previous parts cover the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part deals with two Union Mills LNER Locos that I acquired recently. First we'll have a look at the Locos and I'll discuss some issues I had getting one of them running, and then we'll see some running video of the Locos on the layout. I bought these two Locos from a gentleman on eBay who was selling them from the estate of his late uncle. In fact, he had quite a number of Union Mills Locos for sale, around half a dozen. None of them were LMS, which is my first priority in modelling, but he had these two LNER Locos, as well as several BR Locos and one pre-amalgamation Northeastern Special Edition. Previous to this, I had three Union Mills Locos, all LMS, a G2 Super D and two Fowler 3Fs, one in red and one in black. And I'd generally been very happy with those engines. The Union Mills models are not super detailed by current standards, but they're very solidly made, almost entirely out of metal, and generally they pull a train very well. The only problem I had with my previous Union Mills engines was that their clearance underneath was not great, especially for the 3Fs, so they did sometimes derail going over track elements with raised guide rails, such as the crossover. So anyway, I made the seller an offer for these two LNER Locos, and he accepted my offer. The LNER were the other railway operating after amalgamation in the East Midlands, where I grew up. My granddad drove for the LMS, so the LNER were the rivals, but as such I accord them second place on my layout after the LMS. So, these were the two boxes that arrived when my package came. Typical Union Mills packaging, and a good weight to each. And here they are out of their boxes. The top Loco is a D20-440, and the bottom one a B12-460, both in LNER green livery with some limited lining. Now, you can see at once that there might be a bit of a problem with the D20, the top one. One of the front buffers is severely bent, and more subtly the front coupling isn't at a very nice angle. In fact, it turned out that there was some very definite damage to the front of that Loco. It had probably been dropped at some point, landing on its front. Apart from the bent buffer, the front bogie was also bent, and the retaining box for the front coupling was bent and burst partially open. Here's the D20 on the bench after some initial surgery. The buffer has been very gently bent back into place, and the front coupling box, which is mounted on the bogie, has been rebuilt. That was actually a devil of a job to do. There's a metal box with a small metal lid that's with a screw that attaches it, and then a sprung plastic coupling mounted inside. I took off the lid, because the whole thing was kind of bent. The box was bent and the lid was bent. I took off the lid, took out the coupling, straightened the box and the lid, but then getting it back together with the coupling and the spring inside was extremely tricky. In fact, I initially completely failed, losing the original spring. As I was trying to compress everything together, it pinged away and flew to heaven only knows where. So I stole a spring from a spare coupling that I had, but then that spring was too long to really fit into this box, so I had to snip some coils off it. And getting the box together with the coupling in place and the spring compressed and properly placed was still a challenge. But I did manage eventually. Unfortunately, that was far from the end of my problems with this Loco. Now, when placed on the tracks, it ran for a bit, but kept cutting out and/or short-circuiting and/or derailing. I traced the problems to the front bogie. With the bogie removed, just running on without the bogie, the Loco ran fine. The problem was basically getting the bogie set up so that it was even and at the correct height to run properly on the tracks. Too low down and it pushed the main wheels up off the tracks. Too high and the bogie itself would derail. This Loco's tender driven, by the way. Motor is in the tender driving the tender wheels, but pickups also on the Loco main wheels. The Loco came with a small wet metal washer installed between the bogie and the Loco body. I found that I had to replace that washer to get the Loco working with the bogie fitted, and I tried a couple of different things as washers between the bogie and the body before I found something that seemed to get the bogie at about the right height and allow it to run consistently. So I did finally, after a good deal of struggle, get this loco running on the tracks. I should mention that when I told the gentleman who sold me these locos of my problems with the D20, he apologised, and he noted that he really knew nothing about model railways and was not really able to assess the condition of the locos. They came to him from his late uncle, and he gave me a bit of a refund on the price that I paid for the D20. Once it could run round okay on its own, I hooked the D20 up to a train of LNER teak coaches, the only LNER coaches I have currently. Once running, the engine pulled well, which, as I said earlier, seems to be one of the principal virtues of Union Mills models. I don't resent this model being tender-driven at all. I think it's a sensible choice. The odds are better in N-gauge of getting it to run well with the motor driving 3 axles with small wheels at the back, as against trying to drive 2 axles with large wheels at the front. I have 3 Graham Farish 440 tender locos that drive the actual loco driving wheels, and they look nice and all that, but they can't pull anything much at all up any kind of gradient. The wheels just slip. This loco pulled 6 coaches up the gradient to the viaduct on my layout without a problem. Here it is after its initial successful run with the train, sitting on one of the parking tracks by the turntable in my yard. The loco next to it is one of the Farish 440s I was just talking about, in this case a Midland 4P in Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway blue livery. Nice looking and runs fine, but can't really pull much because of the wheel slip issues. After all my struggles with the D20, I was very relieved to find that the B12, when I tried it, ran fine right out of the box, just with a little bit of oil on things. Here's the B12 coming round into Colville with the same 6 LNER coaches behind it. Well, they're the only ones I have, as I say. 5 Dapol, Gresley, mainline coaches, and the 6th is actually a teak LNER brake that I picked up recently from Tiny Railroads in Delhi, Ontario. Here's a close-up of the B12 coming into Colville station. Actually, his left front bumper doesn't look entirely straight in this picture, but there didn't seem to be any damage that was causing running issues. And that buffer is hardly noticeably out of true from most views. Now both locos are on parking tracks after their initial runs, so now let's get them out again and see them running on the layout, touch wood. Okay, so let's see if we can have a little look at these Union Mills LNER Locos running. So I've got them both on their parking tracks at the moment, but I do have the Gresley coaches, the LNER teak coaches all railed up ready for them. So we live in hopes. So we want to go away from the little house on the turntable arm. And then we turn that power off. And which way round are we trying to go? We want the engine to be going around the layout in the forward direction, which means we want to back it off the turntable here. Line him up with the track, and we've got the point set. Yes, yeah, see, he's still, this is the D20, he's still a bit hesitant pickup wise, which may still be a problem with not having that front bogie at 100% the right height. I've done my best to get it at the right height, but definitely still a little on the hesitant side. Let's not crash into these coaches. There we go. That looked like a reasonable connection. So let's see if we can draw these coaches round. He's wobbling a bit, but got 6 teak coaches behind him. 5 of them Dapol, and the odd one out on the back is a Graham Farish that I picked up from Tiny Railroads. Well, he's certainly going 100%, well, not back into the yard. Just changed that point ahead of him so he didn't run back into the yard. I mean, basically he wouldn't run at all when I got him. Famous last words, but I didn't give him enough oomph there. Oh, no. The sound box has reset itself. Yeah, the Kato soundbox is very sensitive. If it senses any kind of jam or anything, it's a feedback, well, even the regular Kato controllers are feedback controllers. The soundbox and the Kato controller both have feedback on it. If they sense any kind of jam, they'll reset them, they'll turn themselves off. I've got the sound boxes on here, and the sound boxes will actually turn themselves off before the regular controller. He struggles a teeny bit there because he's going up the gradient. You can't really complain. So as he goes round here, I'm going to reset the points so that when he comes down to the bottom here, he'll go straight rather than turning in. And he just went over the crossover, which can be a danger point for Union Mills Locos because it's got high guide rails. He just hit that, bridge, didn't he? Oh, he's lost his train. There's always something, isn't there? Let's see if we can go back and get it. Did that couple? I don't know. There's always something, isn't there? Whoa. Well, it did couple. Sorry. Yeah, he's not running very evenly even now, unfortunately. Yes, the sound box has reset itself there. He's sticking a bit here and there. Stop him there, he should be able to restop here. Let's turn the power on to the outside. And we'll set the crossover over and we'll see if we can run him round onto the outside line. This may be a bit of a dangerous experiment, but we'll see. I didn't really expect him to make his way actually across that crossover because it has a dead zone in the middle and he's not very long. There we go. So now he's running on the outside line. Oh, and he is hitting that, his chimney's high, he's hitting that bridge. The nice thing about this is this doesn't have... Oh! Major and total derailment there. Major and total derailment. And I don't even really know why. We're going to have to lift this bridge up. Can't get it in there. That bridge has been raised a bit, as you can see, with those little brick bits. Well, I don't really even know what happened there. I'm assuming probably his front bogie got pushed off by the points or something. And he just fell right over there. Or did he actually hit? Was it because he hit the bridge? Oh, it probably was because he hit the bridge. Yes, he has a high chimney and he's hitting the bridges. That's what his problem is. He has a high chimney and he's hitting... I didn't realise that. He has a high chimney. That was probably why he derailed. He just hit the bridge. He's not going to join that there, is he? He's got to get him... He's got to get straight. Alright, well, there you go. Let's remove that Lone Star Bridge temper. There's a heavy bridge as well. There's a metal bridge, so it's heavy. It hits that, that's solid. Okay, well, let's stop the train here. Let's try and run him back onto the inner line again, but light engine. Let's just detach him here. Let's uncouple him. Let's see if we can get him across the crossover. Well, it would help if we got his bogie railed properly first. Tricky, getting that bogie railed properly is not easy. What the heck? I don't have his tender railed properly. Oh. Right. What's going on here? Nope. Now he seems to be short-circuiting. Yeah, it's him short-circuiting, okay. If it isn't one thing, it's another. Yeah, well, I had a lot of trouble getting this loco to run in the first place, as I said. Oh, there you go. We actually got him across the crosswalk there anyway. The crossover. He's going to hit that again, isn't he? As every time he goes past, he kind of slightly hits that as well. Okay, well, we do what we can, so we're running around light engine here. We'll take him back to the yard here. Well, there you go, you live and learn. His funnel is high, for one thing. He's not hitting that bridge, but he hit the metal one solidly, and he's hitting the one on the ratio one on the Colville station as well. Far enough forward? Yes, I think so. I think that's far enough forward. You have to be careful though, because if the loco's not fully on the turntable will jam, and you could damage the turntable like that. So it is important to make sure that the loco is fully on the turntable. Towards the little house. Oh, come on. Now he's declining to moving. Oh, and I ran him into the bumper and derailed his front bogie then anyway. Okay. Let's get the other LNER engine out, the B12, the other Union Mills engine here. Away from the little house. Nah, it's definitely not on right. That should work. Power to the turntable off. You have to be careful because I'm using the same power for the inner zone and the turntable. So if I connect them to each other in opposite directions, I'll get a short. So basically the way to avoid that is just to always turn the turntable power off before feeding it to the main line. So long as the turntable power's turned off, you're not going to have a problem. Okay, let's try and bring him off. We'll close the point to the yard behind him, hopefully, so we don't accidentally take things back into the yard. Okay, now we'll take the points the other way. The crossover is still set, so we'll see if we can get him across the crossover. Nope. Not much to my surprise, we can't. See, it has a dead zone in the middle, so it's about the only way you ever get a loco across that crossover is to use considerable speed and sort of propel it across, or a very long loco, which has, you know, a very long loco that has pickups in both the tender and the loco might work, but it's tricky. And it also has a lot of should be connected. It has a lot of raised guide rails as well, which I don't know whether I can push that vaguely. I don't want to damage it, but we'll see if we can push it a bit back into place there. so it doesn't look so silly. Should we risk putting the other one back as well? We'll see, because this guy's not as high, I don't think. Okay, so let's try. We're coupled to the train. Let's see if we can pull it. Now this guy I've done almost nothing to except a little light oiling, unlike the other one which I spent hours struggling with. Put the brakes on there and stop at least part of the train in Colville Station. Now we'll release the brake and pull out. The outer line is fairly flat. It doesn't have, because the inclines go up to the viaduct and the outer line doesn't go to the viaduct. So the outer line, see, he goes under that bridge fine. It's just that D20 that's having trouble getting under the bridges because of the, he has a high chimney. We're using the US Light steam card on the outside zone here and the C57, C59 card on the inner zone. So I'm going to set the crossover again. And I'm going to try and take the train back onto the inner zone. Trying to take an engine is bad enough, trying to take a train is really iffy. Nope, well, I didn't. We didn't really think he was going to get across there, did we? We'll turn the power down a little bit then. We don't need him to race away as soon as I get him anywhere. Famous last words. Oh, you know what I've not got here. Not surprising, that's not working. Oh, I do have the point set correctly. I thought I didn't have the point set correctly, but I don't. Okay, let's try again. There we go. Set the crossover back. Now this, unfortunately, see, that's the brakes on this. They don't really do anything very useful, the brakes on the C57, I'm afraid. It's one of the various whistle sounds you can get on that. Not very appropriate, really. Here we come up the viaduct. Oh, let's go into the inner zone, I guess. I'm mucking around resetting points there. We're going into the inner branch of the inner area, past Bilston Holt there. That's the Metcalfe Terraced house and the branch into the yard and round up through the point there and up the gradient, which is a little tough. Okay, we'll stop there, and anyway I can see this camera's running out of battery. So there we go.